Hi, and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name's Chris, and it's fantastic to have you back with us for another video. And in today's video, I'm going to call out 5 projects that I think have the potential to be safe investments during this bear phase or bear cycle or bear market or crypto winter, whatever terminology you want to use. Now, I just want to be really clear from the outset. For those of you that haven't watched the previous 2 videos to this series, I would go and start back there first. Now, I've called out 10 projects that I think are the safest in the space on the previous 2 videos. Now, these 5 projects that I'm going to call out didn't quite make the top 10 for whatever reason, but I still think they're great projects and definitely worth spending the time researching. Now, this video is for the purpose of education only. I don't expect anybody to be investing on the back of this. I'm not suggesting in any shape that you should be going and FOMOing into these projects right now. Nick and myself still believe that there's some further downside in the space. And ultimately, you need to utilize technical analysis, Elliott wave theory, jump in our Discord, engage with us with more meaningful, conversation. And ultimately, we're here to support. A lot of influencers have disappeared, stop making content. We hear people talking about this all the time. We've seen it because we've been in these bear cycles. We've been in bull markets. And ultimately, we're here to support our community. So we're going nowhere. We're going to look to ramp up when people down tools. So we would appreciate you mashing up that like button. Let's see if we can get this video to 1,000 likes. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, tapping that bell, selecting all the notifications. This is the time to be heavily engaged. This isn't a time to down tools. This isn't a time to close down everything and go away and just don't look at any of your any crypto assets, don't do any research or anything like that. This is the time to be heavily engaged. This is where, in my opinion, the bulk of the money is made. This is why Nick and myself are still in profit. We're still in profit. Why? Because we invested in the bear market. And ultimately, that's where all the generational level wealth is generated, not on the green candles, chasing the money. It's here. It's, it isn't nice. It isn't pretty. But ultimately, this is where you need to begin engaging more and more. So I hope you find this useful. Let's get down to the desktop and let's have a look at the 5 that I'm going to call out here. So we're going to start with the first one. And I think this one is probably obvious to many, right? And that is Ripple's XRP. And ultimately, Nick and myself have been heavily invested in this particular project for an awful long time. And actually, Ripple was actually the reason why I got back into the space so heavily. And, it's part of the reason why we're even here on YouTube, right? Because I found some really interesting stuff. Some information, project plans from the banks. I talked about Accenture, a Ripple partner, doing the work for the Bank of England way before it was even announced. We lost a lot of that content due to what YouTube have done, historically. And ultimately, we're here just purely because that is the catalyst that got me heavily involved in the social media aspect of things. So I've got a lot to thank Ripple for, and ultimately I think XRP and Ripple is fantastic technology. I think it's got a great use case. The team is solid, and the reason why I didn't make the top 10 is purely on the basis that it's obviously under investigation or criminal proceedings between the SEC and Ripple, right? Otherwise, it was a solid top 10 safest projects, been here a long time. And ultimately, the payment rails are broken. Ripple and XRP definitely have an opportunity to basically, fill that void and fix those issues. So, for me, fantastic project, fantastic team, fantastic tech. And ultimately, it would have been in the top 10 had it not been for the SEC. Currently ranked 6th by market cap at 0.5111, down 9.47%. As I said earlier, no FOMOing in. We expect some slightly lower prices. Ultimately, if you jump in our Discord or become a Patreon member, you'll have more access to our knowledge and more of our time, more charts. We have a team there that basically facilitate chart requests and all sorts of things. You'll know our buys, our sells, our staking movements, all that wonderful stuff. So you'll have great insight into what we're doing in this space, right? Now, there's lots of people out there that will, disagree with people, badmouth people, and put them down, making out that because they haven't had a YouTube channel for a great length of time means they haven't had any experience in crypto, which just isn't the case. So just be careful who you follow in. Make sure you remember the YouTubers that disappeared with BS excuses as to why they couldn't be here through the difficult times to navigate in this space and when you really needed them the most. We are here to basically support the community through thick and thin, so we're going nowhere. Moving on, we've got Elrond. Now, for me, Elrond there's no real risk to Elrond, in my opinion. I think it's got great funding. I like what they're doing with the payment aspect. I think this is a fantastic project that will do well, but there were just, in my opinion, projects that just showed me a little bit more of the things that I look for. So this has got a really good team, great tech, and ultimately I think the use case is required. They've made some fantastic acquisitions, and I'm excited about the future for Elrond. So it had to make the list of projects that perhaps just didn't quite make the top 10. Elrond is ranked 38th by market cap at 106.55, down 6.02% at the time of recording. And ultimately, again, no FOMOing in. This is a project where we expect, some great opportunities to dollar cost average in and reduce, any sort of price points that you got in if you got in quite late following other influencers. Moving on to the third project, and that has to be Quant. Now, this is a project that we don't talk about too much on this channel. We don't tend to get much views when we cover this one, but ultimately I think this is an interesting project with great tokenomics. I think it's going to do really well, and I think it's one that people should definitely spend some time researching. I ultimately believe that this is a strong project that has got good backing, and I definitely think that it'll be time well spent looking into Quant. Now, Quant is ranked 72nd by market cap at 73.58, down 12.51% at the time of recording. Now, this has been as high as $380 something, $84. So that's come down significantly. I think ultimately it's an interesting project that spending that time researching would be valuable to anybody. Moving on to the fourth one, and that would be Silica. Now, for me, Silica just didn't do enough to get into the top 10 safest assets. But the reason why it's in this one here is I think the risk reward ratio is really, really positive for this particular one, particularly with the prices we're expecting this one to fall down to. Again, not one that I would be aping into right now, but this is a project that I think is going to be reliant on its metaverse being successful. But again, a project that we really do like here. We've talked about for an awful long time. So do let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on Silica. Currently ranked 73rd by market cap at 0.06706, down 11.26%. Now, we are expecting this one to potentially go below 5 cents. Time will tell whether that happens and comes to transition. We don't just call out the high prices, we also call out the low prices. Check out our Discord, jump in our Patreon, and you'll be engaged more with our thoughts on where we think some of these projects are going price wise. But yeah, a project that we think is going to do really, really well, but ultimately it's one that wasn't strong enough to make the top 10 in my opinion. Moving on, and we've got Harmony One. Now, for me, Harmony One of my favorite projects, right? And if I could have had it in the top 10, I would have had it in the top 10, right? But we have sort of approached this pragmatically and without bias, right? It is one of my favorites, but I wouldn't be true, transparent and honest if I put it into the top 10 currently under the current circumstances, right? I've talked about DAOs. I've talked about how I like the DAOs. I think they're important. And I ultimately think that they're going to do really well. I have also mentioned that DAOs, are going to have teething problems to start off with. Now, unlike most influencers, right, I I do care, right? And I care enough to even put myself forward to be a governor on a DAO. And I did that for a term of, I think it was close to 4 months actually, for the creative DAO, right? And tried to offer my support to Harmony's DAOs. But I did this for many reasons. One, I wanted to kind of understand more about Harmony. I wanted to be more integrated with it. And some of the things that I found, weren't great. And some of those things were the team that was sort of in charge of supporting and running the DAOs, not the governors and the people actually on the DAOs, but the people above. We weren't funded when we should have been. We weren't given answers as to why we weren't being funded. And I found the call that we had with Sam and a few of the guys managing the DAOs very patronizing, to be quite frank and honest. And ultimately, I think they've done a really poor job of managing the DAOs. Nobody should be waiting 3 months with no explanation as to why they're not getting funding, and at the end of the term be told that it's going to get funded 100k afterwards, and then question when asked for 100k why they're asking for 100 and not 50. There's a lot of things that I don't agree with currently. Lots of talk around from the community about DAOs being a scam and that sort of stuff. I'm not aligned to that. I just think there's a lot of issues surrounding how they're managed, how the funding is agreed, the communication aspect, and these are all things that can be fixed, right? Like the team can fix up the and when I say the team, this isn't like the senior, like the senior people of the project. This is the people managing the DAOs, right? Like I think that can be fixed. I think that there's always going to be teething issues with something brand new like this, but ultimately I think they will get through the teething issues, but it requires the community to be supportive and not flip on the actual project and the team, right? So that put to one side. I like the fact that the community is really passionate and engaged, and ultimately, the team in my eyes is strong enough to survive all of this stuff, and that is why the team is so important when you look at projects. When there's bad phases or bad periods with a company or a project, you need to have a strong team to carry you forward, right? Not a team that just quivers away into the background, hides, and just hopes that things blow over, because that never happens. The other thing is they've got great technically sound individuals in the team as well. I think they've been sort of called out as rock stars, but the team needs to grow, the team needs to be bigger, but I have seen the community questioning the leadership and whether we need to change, and ultimately I think that's a bit extreme. I don't think that's the case, just my personal preference, but for these reasons Harmony just couldn't possibly be in the top 10 currently, and there was lots of people questioning that, and that is the real honest answer to that. Is I'm not happy with some of the things that are happening, but that's not just from the team. That is, a collective of, I'm not happy necessarily with some of the antics of the community, as well as I'm not happy with, the aspects of the team's poor management of DAOs. So, that's my honest answer on it. But I do think it will survive. I still think that it's going to do very, very well. I haven't liquidated any of my Harmony, and I continue to hold, and I continue to expect this one to do really, really well. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on Harmony. Probably went on a bit too much on that one, but it's currently down 12.27%. It's at 0.06279, ranked 80th by market cap. I will recap that I actually really do like some of the things that some people are calling out as negative. I like the fact that they've gone for partnerships with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I like the fact that they focus more on marketing. It was needed. I've been calling it out for months, and ultimately it's what's needed in order to grow an ecosystem. But that is part and parcel of this space, right? Not everybody's going to agree, and that is also fine. So those are the 5 projects that are a little bit more riskier than the safer ones that I called out, but still projects that I think are going to do really, really well and survive a bear cycle. I am going to be doing a members only video on riskier assets than these that I think have huge gain potentials, and I'm going to be looking to accumulate in the bear cycle personally. And we've got a fantastic track record of pulling out these gems. We pulled out Harmony at 0.5 cent, VeChain at 0.5 cent, Matic at like less than 2 cent, ADA less than 10 cent, Elrond less than $12. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So why not take a look at our Patreon service if that is of interest. I hope today's video is useful. If it was, mash up that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, tapping that bell, selecting all the notifications so you never miss a video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.